Okay, this video is to make the train body here in front of you using this drawing sheet. Okay, our general strategy is going to be creating this profile right here as a sketch, extruding it back, and then adding in this and extruding it back the rest of the way to get the overall form, and then we'll start working on the details of some of these areas to remove. Holes for the axles, for the cow catcher. On the back side there is a hole for a peg for the hitch magnet, and then also this, I'll call that the engineer's window. Okay, so I'm using the dimensions on this sheet when I go through and I probably will, flip back to this, but you'll need to refer to this and use these dimensions as well. Okay, so starting off, I'm going to start a new sketch on the front. I'm going to go ahead and use the rectangle tool and make one corner, kind of a bottom corner, anchored there at the origin. I need the dimensions here, width and height of that. And right here, I've got a height of 0.875 and an overall width of 2. The sketch turning all black lets me know that it's fully constrained right now. So kind of with the corner being fixed to the origin and then those two dimensions. I'm going to use a 3-point arc, having the two endpoints of the arc fall on that edge, and then pull this up so that the center is above the rectangle, and that way I have a major arc, I have more than a semicircle. I'm going to click, go back and understand my dimensions. Arcs are dimensioned by their radius, so I have a 0.75 radius. That point is centered, so 1 inch from the sides, and the center height-wise from the very bottom is 1.375. So that's centered to the very bottom. Okay, and with those three dimensions, it's fully constrained. Notice how everything has turned black. I'm going to finish sketch, and I'm going to show you that you can rename your sketch. I'm going to leave sketch on the front, but I'm going to do train front. Maybe I'll put train body front. And then I'm going to extrude. I'm going to send it in the opposite direction away from the origin. I'm going to leave the origin here in the very front. And then I need the distance, which is 3.75. And that's again understood by kind of understanding these dimensions. The overall is 5.5, but I have to subtract off this section right here. So if you follow that extension line, you can see the amount to take off. I can hit this little pencil to edit the name. I'm going to leave extrusion on there and call this extrude train body front. Okay, I have found it very, very nice and helpful in Onshape, since you are going to be able to create more than one part here in the Part Studio, and then all those sketches and extrusions and revolves and all the tools you might use kind of show up here, that if they're not named it can be hard to figure out which ones go to which or scrolling around. The other thing that can be very helpful in here, instead of just naming them, is also putting them into a folder. So if I hit this little button here to new folder, I'm going to call it the train body, and I can click on more than one object or entity here if I hold down the shift key. I'm going to drag those and put them into the train body folder like that. Oh, maybe I move my mouse slightly when I let go. Okay, I should be able to expand or collapse that menu and see the things that are for the train body. So that's super helpful to me if I'm going back and working on a specific part to edit it, that I can expand or condense the sketches and features for that one part. Okay, so to get the back of the train body, I'm going to rotate around and choose this face for my sketch. And on my keyboard turns it normal. And really on the back side, I just need to, to get this profile, I need to kind of come straight up. I need this arc and straight back down. So I'm going to use the line tool to make a segment here, a vertical segment. Use the line tool again from here. Maybe. Let's get the line tool, didn't turn on. Okay, I want those two lines to be equal, so I'm going to use my equal constraint. Okay, now they'll at least say the same height. I'm not sure exactly what that is yet, right? I'm going to use the 3-point arc to put the arc on the top, and I'll have to go back to the drawing sheet to understand this dimension. Okay, this arc across here, the radius is 2.35. And then the center of that arc, its location is really going to control the height of the train. So let's see if we can figure out where that should be. Okay. With this leader line pointing to that arc and this line extending, that is supposed to show me the location of the center of the arc. So it's right there, actually concentric with the hole for the hitch peg and magnet. And trace that over. It's at a height of 0.375. And it is centered 1 inch because this member was an overall of 2 inches of width. So we're going to go 0.375 up. From the bottom. And everything turned black and it's fully constrained. And that's really because I had these two lines equal to each other. If they didn't have to be equal, then this point would have the ability to float. As one line got shorter than the other, this arc would kind of change its angle, if you will, in terms of where the center is. So, but me having these two lines already set and constrained to being equal, that's why I didn't have to put that 1 inch. Let's delete that equal constraint. Let's see if we can show you. Okay, so if I can make one line segment here shorter than the other, you can see how that now has the ability to move. Okay, so by going back and choosing the equal constraint again, there you go, that locks that in place. So that sketch, I'm going to call that the train body back. And then we're going to extrude both regions, this region here, as well as this region. My extrusion needs to be on add, so it's not a new part, but part of the first part that I've created. And the distance from my drawing sheet was 1.75. There you go. Alright, so that completes step 1 of making the overall form of the train body. So I'm going to go ahead and edit, right click and rename, and give this extrusion, call it extrude train body back, just so I keep up with that. And then I will select both of those and drag them into the train body folder. There you go. Okay. The next thing we will do is we will create this little cutout on the side for kind of where the engineer would go. So I'm going to put a sketch on the side. N turns it normal. P actually hides the other planes. And I need to go understand that shape. Okay. It is a semicircle with the center not along the back edge. The center is actually in slightly. We are going to assume that this, it's kind of hard to tell from these drawings, but that is horizontal and doesn't continue to kind of curve up or curve down. So I want to come in just a little bit. It looks like 1/4 inch, and then have my semicircle. My semicircle has a 1/2 inch radius or a 1 inch diameter. And then the center of that is 1.75 from the bottom of the train body. So let's get that was going to be 1 inch. undo. I may not have recorded my decimal point. I need a 3-point arc, and I want the arc to be tangent to the tops in that. So if I get the center, if you watch the center, if I get it right on that line, I also get the tangent constraint at the same time. Okay, and then I'm going to dimension that point to be 1.75 from the bottom. And that made everything black, which means it's fully constrained. Let's rename that sketch. And I'll call this kind of the engineer's window. This needs to be on extrude remove. I'm going to choose both of those regions, and instead of putting a depth, I'll say up to next, and it should go across to the next face. And again, I'm right clicking, and I'm going to name those. All right. Now we need to add axle holes on the side, and I'll use the mirror tool to flip them to the opposite side. Start a new sketch on the face, here at the side. To create a hole, we're going to use the point tool. I want these two holes to be horizontal to each other, so I'm going to use the horizontal tool. Select both of them. That way if I move one, the other one should move with it vertically. And the height, I think it was a 1/2 inch. I need to go remember. Yep. And I know they were both 1 inch from their kind of respective end, the front or back. Alright, those are fully constrained. I can name my sketch. This is the axle hole placement. And then I have a hole tool right here. Now these holes, follow the leader line, are supposed to be threaded holes. So I'm going to show you how Onshape already has a tool where we can basically put in the information in here. This 1/4 means it's a thread note, that it's 1/4 inch in diameter and it's 20 threads per inch. And that is something I can choose in here. So instead of under custom, I can go to ANSI, and under hole type I can go to tapped. That's a threaded hole. I can put in the size, that's the diameter, and then the threads per inch, and it defaulted to all that. So it just happens to be that that's a very common thread. And then the depth of my hole. Okay, now this is just remembering because I've made the train body before starting the video. So I would need to adjust this, but all of this actually, at least for me, kind of came up to the 1/4 20 as a default. Okay. And I need to go choose where am I going to create these holes. So I'm going to choose the 2 points that represent that and accept. And I've got 2 holes now. I can kind of see in. Now I want to mirror those to the other side. So I'm going to use the plane tool right here. And I'm going to use the mid plane. So basically I'll have a plane that kind of cuts the train right in half. I'm going to select the 2 sides of the train. It creates that plane. And I'll call it the plane, mid-plane of 2 sides. Plane of sides. Good enough. Alright, and then I'll use the mirror tool, which is right here. And I need to change this from a part mirror to a feature mirror. I'm going to choose, okay, the holes that I just created, I can choose them right over here in the browser. So I'm going to choose that. So those are the features, and then the mirror plane, I'm going to click on that when it's red to say I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to go choose my mid plane. I'll rotate this around to see if I'm getting a preview. Yep. And I'm going to accept that, although I may go ahead and change the name right now, mirror. So these are the axle holes are getting mirrored. There you go. So I've completed that. I need to add the cow catcher holes on the front. So new sketch on the front face. Again, using the point tool to lay out 3 points. I don't want any kind of automatic constraints. I'm trying to click where I'm not going to get that, and then let's see, I do know I need these 2 points to be horizontal to each other. Alright, and I know this one's going to be dead center, so that's 1 inch from a side. And here I need to remember these dimensions. So they are, follow this extension line down, there's the arrow tip, 0.37 from the edge, or from the opposite edge it works out to be 1.625 either way. So this to this edge would be 0.375, which means from this edge to this one is the 1.625. And that should have these two be symmetrical. The height of those 2 points was, follow that extension line over, there's the arrow tip, here's the opposite arrow tip, kind of trace that down, 0.125. This is kind of gets confusing in here to figure out how to read. Okay, notice the other one moved. Alright, I need the height of this one from the bottom. Right there, trace that extension line over. There's the arrow tip, it's 0.625. Alright, this sketch is for the cow catcher holes. And I'm not going to extrude, right? It's just a point, so there's not really anything to extrude, but those points define the center of where my holes go. So I turn on the hole tool. This time, these will just be kind of on custom, a simple blind hole. Blind means it doesn't go all the way through. And I need the diameters and depth, so I'm going to follow the leader line from the hole. I have a diameter of 1/8 of an inch and a depth of 1/8, and times 3 means they're all the same. So I have 0.125 and 0.125, diameter and depth at all 3 locations. Okay, now notice those extrusions and sketches and things have not gone into my train body folder. That's okay. Remember, I can drag and drop these. Maybe. Okay, the red, it turned red because I had gotten the feature before I got the sketch. I kind of find it easier just to pick the first one, hold down the shift key, hit the last one, get all of them, and then drag them, drop them in one swoop. Okay, so what's next? We'll rotate around to the back, how about? Start a new sketch on the back. Add a point. I know that that point is going to be dead center. Oop. I didn't mean to. I don't want to grab a point, I want to grab the edge. It's making me select more than I want. Okay, so 1 inch, and then I need the height. I think this was 0.375. but I need to go look. Okay, on the back, yes, 0.375. That's the location of the hole for the hitch, which is going to be a 1/4 inch diameter and a 1/2 inch deep. So that's my sketch. So this is for the hitch peg hole. I'll use the hole tool here. Say I want a hole at this location, and it had to be a 1/4 inch in diameter and a 1/2 inch deep. And again, just a simple blind hole. There isn't information on here giving us thread information. And I will name that the hitch peg. Alright, that mid plane I created, I can go ahead and hide it. If I hit P, it'll kind of show and hide the planes. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the hole in the top for the smokestack. And in order to do that, I need to have a sketch plane that is basically tangent to this cylinder, and it needs to be parallel to this plane. I'm going to create a point that's, there's kind of already one there. Let's see if it'll let me reference that one without having to start a sketch here. But if I can get a plane, I think it will, that'll reference that point and then be horizontal to that plane, I'll have a plane that I can use for my sketch right where I want. So I'm going to use this plane tool, and in the drop down, I'm going to use plane and point. So plane means it'll be parallel to a plane I select, and it'll pass through a point I choose. So on plane point, yep, there you go. I'm going to grab that point. It's kind of the very top of that arc. And then this horizontal plane. And there you go. And I can name this if I want. So plane, this is horizontal. It's kind of tangent to cylinder. It's kind of a note to myself, right? What is this plane? That way if I hide them, because I'm going to hide planes, then instead of just seeing a plane and any work planes I've created, not knowing which ones to turn on again if I need to see something, it just has a name in it. It just reminds me of what plane that was. Okay, so I'm going to start a sketch. Oop, I hit the wrong button, sorry. Start a sketch using this plane. And then, again, to make a hole, I'm just going to use a point. And I'm going to dimension that to be exactly in the middle, so 1 inch from the side. And then the depth from the front, how far back? I think it's 0.875. Let's go double check. Yep. And this sketch is for the smokestack hole. I'm going to use the hole tool at this location, and that hole needs to be a 1/2 inch in diameter and a 1/4 inch deep. So 1/2 inch in diameter and a 1/4 inch deep. And I'll name it Smokestack. Alright, that plane I can hide now. And I can grab all of those features, drag them into my train body folder. Okay, so looking around on the sides I've got, I think I have all the holes that I need. The last feature that they've got on the drawing sheet, right? Did I get everything? I got the axles, I got the cow catcher, the smokestack, I've got the cutout. Okay, I got the hitch peg on the back, so I think we're good. Is this right here? It says round all edges 1/10 of an inch except for drilled holes. So I'm going to apply a fillet at 1/10 of an inch on all edges except the hole edges. Now if you have holes on a face and I go choose the whole face, it's going to here, I'll click on it and show you, it's going to fill out those hole edges. So I don't want to do that. If I have a face like, I guess, the bottom that doesn't have any holes, I could do that. This face, I think any faces that don't have, the back does, this face right here. Grabbing a face kind of makes it a little quicker and easier. Otherwise, what am I going to do? I'm going to go through and grab every line segment or arc, kind of every segment of that profile to round all those edges. So I'm going to work my way around this side and make sure I've gotten every little thing. So let's get that little piece. Oh, then I got the arc, that vertical edge. Okay, I already got that. So I think this side is done. I want to fill in that interior corner there too. So all that has been selected. Let's rotate around to this side. Let's get that interior corner, this exterior corner, kind of walk around this face. Alright, I think this side's done. I'll rotate around to the back. Looks like this top edge on that bottom section didn't get filleted, and that one should have. So I think I got it all. I'm going to go ahead and accept. And I'm going to change this to shaded without edges. I think that might make it a little easier for me to see if there's kind of a sharp edge just visually that got skipped in terms of finding fillet. So I know the bottom should be good. I'm just holding down my right mouse button and kind of rotating around and looking for any edges that might have gotten missed. And I think we got them all. There you go. So that is the completion of our train body. Let's rename fillets. This is all train body edges 0.1. I'll put it 0 in front, 0.1. And we'll drag that in, and we got it.